This is Gesher, the podcast that's bridging the gap between the Jewish and evangelical Christian communities with conversations that matter. Here's your host, Ty Perry, with the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Gesher. As you undoubtedly know, on October 7th, 2023, the Islamic terrorist organization Hamas, which governs the Gaza Strip, launched a brutal attack on Israel. More than 1,400 Israelis, most of them civilians, were murdered in cold blood. Women were raped, babies were beheaded, young people and elderly alike were kidnapped, and the Jewish community worldwide is reeling. They're also feeling the impact of anti-Semitism here in the U.S. and elsewhere throughout the diaspora. Pro-Hamas protests have taken place in New York, Paris, and London. Some mainstream media outlets have justified the attack, blaming Israel's policies toward the Palestinians as a reason for Hamas's pogrom. But college and university campuses are perhaps the epicenter of pro-Hamas anti-Semitic activities in the West. Just last week, Jewish students at New York City's Cooper Union College had to be barricaded inside of the school library to protect themselves from pro-Hamas protesters. One student reported that some of the protesters were, quote, calling for the murder of Jews. So how are Jewish students and Jewish campus organizations responding to this unprecedented level of hatred? Well, here to talk with me about this is the executive director of Hillel at Purdue University, Matt Kramer-Morning. Matt has been a dynamic leader in the Jewish communities of Silicon Valley, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Tidewater, Virginia. A former lone soldier in the Israel Defense Force, Matt is passionate about supporting IDF Veterans Affairs and caring for ex-IDF lone soldiers once they return to North America, and I'm proud to call him a friend. Matt, welcome to Gesher.
Thank you so much for having me. That was a lot that you just said about me, but thank you. It's weird that my career has taken me all across the U.S. and I've gotten to see different Jewish communities, different college campuses throughout that. I've been here at Purdue now 3.5 months. It'll be 4 months here it'll be 4 months and 3 days. So
congratulations.
Yeah, it's been interesting to come into Purdue at this time. We had thought, I had thought that the biggest issue I was going to have this semester was that the university had scheduled, errantly scheduled Parents' Weekend on Rosh Hashanah. Here we were, almost through the high holidays, and then this happened, and it's just been, I'll be blunt. It's been a horrible three weeks now, almost 4 weeks coming up on it. It's hard to keep track of where we are in all of this too.
Well, Matt, I want to get some questions, but first let me ask. You have a personal question here. Not only do you, as a Jewish person, have an innate connection to the people and land of Israel, but you served in Israel's army as a lone soldier. Mm-hmm. So that puts you in a select group of American Jews who have literally put your life on the line for the Jewish state. So how are you personally handling this?
It comes in waves. I've said this to, a few of my lay leaders, to, friends of mine, colleagues of mine. There will be days where I'm okay, and then there will be days where I just get angry, and then there will be days where I just have this depression kind of wash over me, like the stages of mourning or depression. Like I've gone through all of those like 6 times now at this point. Up until this past weekend where we saw Israel actually launch forces into Gaza, and we're still waiting for, I'm watching news, but it's very little what Israel is releasing about it. But up until that, every single day from about 3 o'clock till 7 o'clock in the evening here on Eastern Standard Time, I would watch my phone and hold my breath, like, is tonight going to be the night? Because I remember in 2012 when I was serving in Amud Anan, every night we would go to Gaza and wait for the order to go in, and we'd get there around 10 o'clock and we'd leave around 1:30 or 2 o'clock when we finally didn't get that order to go in. And, I've been sitting here for the past 3 weeks, kind of just, clenching and hoping that, tonight wasn't the night, but knowing that it was going to happen, and it finally did. Um, it's hard. I have, here at campus, we have some students who are Israeli who served, who were trying to figure out if they were going back or not. We have students who have family over there, have friends over there. I've had, students come into my office and cry. I'm tearing up a little bit just thinking about it. Like, this is unprecedented, and it's hard. And, at the end of the day, our Jewish students just want to be students. And they're going through midterms with everything that I just mentioned to you, adding to the stress that they already have from Purdue and their academics. So, yeah.
Well, Matt, you serve, as we said, as the executive director of Purdue University's Hillel organization, and you've served in similar capacities at other universities. I met you when you were the director of Hillel at UNLV in Las Vegas. But many of my Christian listeners in particular likely have never heard of Hillel or know very little about it. So just by way of introduction, tell us about this organization and how it serves Jewish students.
Well, first of all, it's weird to think that we met almost 10 years ago now. Well, 9 years ago, yeah, if it was in 2014.
Yeah.
My, how the time has flown.
Sure has.
But yeah, so Hillel is a movement on campus, a Jewish movement on campus. It's actually turning 100 years old. The very first Hillel started in 1924. 23 or 20, no, next year is the centennial. We're getting ready for it. At University of Illinois Champaign, I believe. You may want to double check me on that, but I know it was in Illinois.
Okay.
This Hillel at Purdue was founded in 1937. The building that I'm talking to you from is 72 years old. It's solid concrete. It was built during the 1950s, as a bunker, that's what they were building back then.
Yeah.
And we've been here ever since. We're in the middle of campus, and we really are a Jewish home away from home for our Jewish students. We're here for the students that come from the coasts, come from large Jewish communities, who grew up in synagogues, who grew up doing youth groups as a continuation of that for their Jewish life. And we're here for the Jewish students who, like me, came from a small town, and this is the first time they're really experiencing a Jewish community of their peers. We are here really as a home and a safe place to explore their Jewish journey, and to help them grow as young adults.
I want to turn to the war itself. The October 7th attack, and then, of course, the war following that, it's changed a lot for the global Jewish community. That's what I'm hearing from many of my Jewish friends. Some leading segments of society are astonishingly siding against Israel in favor of Hamas. I know I've heard from many that they feel isolated and alone. Is that a sentiment shared by the Jewish students that you're working with, or not?
We know that our students are here. They love Israel. They support Israel. They've been on Birthright. They've gone there. They have friends. They have family. Even Jews who will move in more progressive circles, are feeling a little betrayed right now. As I don't know if you saw, the New York Times covered this. Sarah Silverman came out against the Young Democrat, or the Democratic Socialists of America, because not 11 hours later they put out a statement condemning Israel after Hamas came in and murdered 1,400 Jews and Israelis, and not just Jews and Israelis, but Bedouins, Arab Israelis, right, Americans, people from around the world who were there, who just happened to get in the way. it's hard to think. And then, when you look at these organizations that you felt, covered your values, like the Democratic Socialists of America, and they come out and post these things, it's very hard for people to see, wait, where was this lurking from? Where is this coming from? I thought this was a safe place for me. We've seen here on this campus, there is a Students for Justice in Palestine group, which I don't want to talk about too much, but for this question, there had been a few organizations that retweeted their initial post, liked and retweeted or re-Instagrammed or whatever the phrase is. You'll forgive me, I'm not as savvy as I once was. And in some cases, we found out that those messages had been errantly shared because students share passwords for the Instagram handles. But in some cases, we've heard that the organizations are standing by it, and we're not, those students who are a part of those groups are now trying to figure out, well, does that mean that I have a home in this group that I've gotten involved with since my time here at Purdue?
What is the general climate at Purdue as it concerns Israel? I mean, I'm sure maybe it's even become more pronounced following the attack, but what's the climate?
So I hear from my colleagues at Hillel, around the country. I mean, you mentioned some of the things that have happened on other campuses. Some chancellors and presidents of universities have refused to make statements. Others have made statements that have just not been helpful. That's not the case here at Purdue. From day one, I was in touch with Patrick Wolf, our provost, with Meng Chang, our president. Meng wrote a very, very meaningful letter to our Jewish students expressing solidarity and condolences for what was going on, emphasizing the partnerships that the university has with Israeli universities, including the Technion. Purdue is very much an engineering and STEM school, and those research partnerships are very important here. Research and academic, I should say. Meng actually came and visited with our Jewish students. He was on campus one day that entire week. And that one day he made it a point to come to the Hillel to sit with students and speak and hear from them. We held a vigil on that Wednesday for our Jewish students. There was, Patrick Wolf was from the university, was able to come, and he said something that our students still, bring up, which they found very meaningful, which is you've suffered this horrible attack as a Jewish people, and we understand that, like, all of the stress that comes with, and if there's, you have enough stress with academics and with tests and with midterms, and if something needs to give, reach out to my office and we will work with you and your professors to make sure, like, let us take that burden from you.
Wow.
The CAPS, the counseling services have been great. They've stopped by a couple of times here at the here at the Hillel, excuse me. We've just got a great outpouring of support from the administration, from Purdue Police Department, from the local FBI here. We feel very, very supported, but I also understand that is not the case on other campuses.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that, because I'm so glad to hear that. That's wonderful to hear the administration is in support. What about at the student level? You work with Jewish students every day. Are they experiencing any hostilities among their peers, or are they being supported in this?
Our messaging to students is we are here for you.
Mm-hmm.
For first and foremost, that is what Hillel is here for. Having said that, I think the students are very much on edge, as are our students' parents, and rightfully so. We see everything else that's going on at Tulane, at Cornell, at Rutgers, in New York. It does not seem like, and the way that the media portrays it is, it seems like this is erupting across the country. And I hope that's really not the case. But, I see, our director's listserv for Hillel is, I can't keep up with it at this point with everything going on. I think our students are on edge. Last week, I'll cite a specific example. So there's a Chabad on campus as well. And the Chabad rabbi had to go to London. His sister was getting married, and thank God there's some joy during this time. And so he had left. And his little son had thrown a toy against the window, and it had cracked. And while he was gone, I think it got cold and the crack got bigger. And a student was there the Monday he got back and saw the cracked window. And all of a sudden, I had 3 emails on Tuesday morning from parents asking, what's going on at Chabad? What happened to their window? And students came to our bagel breaks asking, oh, did you hear what happened at Chabad? And I had reached out to him that morning and learned the story that I just told you. And we had to really put out the fire, so to speak, because, especially, rumors spread so quickly, but especially when everyone's on edge.
Sure.
All of a sudden, Chabad's window being vandalized just spread like wildfire across our community.
Well, Matt, that is a good segue to my next question, because my observation is that we're seeing attacks. It's not just embassies or something like that being targeted here in the U.S. and in the West, but even religious institutions, Jewish religious organizations that are not necessarily political, they're Jewish, being targeted. And so for years, as you well know, there's been this endless debate about the connection between anti-Semitism, Jew hatred, and anti-Zionism, the opposition to the state of Israel. And I know I've often said that theoretically there's a line, albeit a fine line, between categorical opposition to Israel and hatred of the Jewish people. But in your view, has the world's response to Hamas's attack on Israel done something to that line? Has it blurred it, erased it? Do you think it's still there, in your opinion?
I always have felt that there has been a blur, and I think it's got even blurrier in the past 3 weeks. I mean, first of all, when you say anti-Zionism, Zionism at its core just means a Jewish right to self-determination.
Right.
If you look at the term, there's no mention of Israel or anything. And if you read about the early Zionists, there was talk of, do we have to do this in Israel?
Uganda.
Why don't we do this in Uganda? Why don't we do this in Alaska? And unfortunately, like Zionist and on college campuses especially, has turned into this evil word. They often they say colonialist. There were signs here in the march that Students for Justice in Palestine did with the Socialist Democrats of America that says Zionism equals fascism. Well, if a right to self-determination equals fascism, then call me a fascist, call every single Native American a fascist, like know what you're saying. And I think that's really the danger that's here on college campus, is that these students don't know what they're saying. They don't know that when they chant from the river to the sea, That means from the Jordan River all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, there will be no Jews.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be a single Jewish person living there. Palestine will be free. We will own the land. Well, they accuse him. Sorry, I'm getting a little upset here,
okay.
but this is what. Yeah, I'm going to calm myself down a little bit. This is what we see on campuses, and I think so quickly because of the terminology, because there's not really an understanding of what's going on. Like the Socialist Democrats of America really just globbed onto this all of a sudden. And do any of these students know or have a background in Middle East studies and actually know what is going on here at its core? No,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a single one of them does.
Well, you give them the benefit
and
of the doubt.
That's really
then.
why it's so dangerous, because when you're using these terms, it can very easily spill into Jewish hatred.
Yeah. Well, Matt, those listening to this interview likely don't need to be convinced of the justice of Israel's cause and their response to Hamas. But, I visit churches all the time. I'm talking to Christians, and they want to know, what can we do practically to demonstrate our support for Israel and for our local Jewish community? So do you have any tips on what would be helpful at this time, whether it's for students or broader Jewish communities in general?
I mean, first and foremost, just be there. Reach out. Here at the university, we have, it's not like when you and I were in Las Vegas. So the student, the Dean of Students office runs what they call the University Religious Leaders Group. So there's about 20 or 30 religious leaders who are a part of this university religious life, even though we don't work for the university. We get together once a month, we work together. I will say I'm one, it's myself, Rabbi Glick, and a representative from a Baha'i temple, and then it's mostly predominantly Christian. But I'm still glad to be a part of it. And in the past 3 weeks, first off, if anyone here is listening, I apologize that I have not gotten back to you with everything else going on. But trust me, your messages have meant the world to me, to my staff, to my board. Just knowing that you're thinking of us. You acknowledge the situation, you acknowledge the horrors that are going on, like that really, really speaks volumes. And so to the listeners here, reach out, let the synagogues know that you're thinking of them. Maybe there are specific things that those synagogues need right now. I don't want to speak, I'm not able to speak to that, but really, I think that's the most important piece, is just be there and make sure that that the local Jewish community knows you're there for them.
Well, Matt, as I know you know, we at the Friends of Israel and many within the evangelical Christian community stand shoulder to shoulder with you and your people. I want to thank you for all you do to support Israel and support the Jewish community at Purdue and everywhere. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've been listening to Gesher, a ministry outreach production of FOI Equip, your free resource for learning and engaging with the scriptures from a Jewish perspective. To learn more, visit foiequip.org. And for more information about Ty, visit foi.org/Perry. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Shalom.